Hello my beautiful pumpkins. So this is gonna be a very long video, I think, because there is a lot to explain. So grab yourself a cup of tea. I'd also advise grabbing a pen and paper, because you might want to write down what I'm gonna be explaining about all of these letters. This is a table I made for myself, so it's kinda messy. I never planned on doing this video, or like any kind of Warframe video for that matter, but well, I put a lot of effort into it. It took me a couple hours at least, I think, thanks to Warframe convoluted system. But if you watch this video and use this table, getting MR will be much easier for you. You will not have to spend too much time on research, because I made it for you. Well, technically I made it for me, but I'm making this video for you. So okay, what do we have here? First, if you haven't watched the video about, well, the part 1 of this journey, so weapons required as crafting ingredients is your first step. So if you didn't watch it, well, I think you should start with it. So after you decided whether or not to follow the first table, you'll come to this table, and this table replicates tiers from a certain website. I'm not going to promote it, but beware that the tiers on this site constantly change, so you might want to use the screenshot I took at the time when I made this table. So for example, as you can see, some weapons do align and some don't, so even if one moved, the entire table becomes incorrect. So all of the images will be attached to the Reddit post, which I'll make after this video. So there are 3 tiers: D, C and B, and the weapons correspond to this table. So if it's secondary, you pull up secondary weapons, and as you can see, the amount of cells correspond to the amount of cells in the image. So we have secondary weapons, primary weapons and melee. The funniest thing is that I never finished the B tier, because I never had the chance to upgrade all the melee weapons, because first they are much more abundant than all other types of weapons. As you can see here, we got 2 more rows compared to the primary one, and they are much more obtainable, because all of these letters here denote the requirements for the weapon. And as you can see, the melee weapon got so many blanks. Like, you can, blanks actually, well, basically mean, yeah, you can go to the market and buy the blueprint and craft it. Like, you don't need to do anything else. And with the primary weapon, and to my surprise, and secondary weapons, like, this is disappointing. Okay, so starting, I'd recommend first of all to start with D tier, because it's pretty obtainable. Like, it's starting weapons and you don't need much to get them, and I'd recommend getting them at the beginning of your journey in Warframe, because when you're MR20 and you're running with MK1 weapons, this would be much more excruciating for you when you're just a beginner and don't know better. So the first thing you need to understand, and that we and blank space are the same. We means that I already upgraded this weapon to the max and sold it. so I don't need to deal with it anymore. Blank means that I haven't got it yet, and as I said, it doesn't require anything to get. So V and blank are the same. Don't pay attention to them. If you see V, you see blank. It doesn't require anything. There may be some exceptions, like if I got a weapon and it did require something, but I already used it, I'm sorry. There are not so many V's in here, but in D tier, where you can see the most V's, it's pretty safe to assume you don't require anything. So, other letters. First of all, you have Forma. And Forma is... I hate it. Like, Forma is a very, I'd say, important component to this game, and the fact that you have to spend it on crafting is enraging. But as you can see, there are a lot of weapons that require Forma, and that sucks. So, a bit of advice about Forma. If you're a beginner, the first thing you need to do is to get to the clan, because at least half of these weapons are made from blueprints that you can acquire only through a clan. So you need to join one. And I highly recommend joining one instead of making one, because making one means triple the grind, and you don't want that. You can join any clan, it doesn't require anything from you, just find yourself a clan and join it. Second advice, you need to go Biolab, Energy Lab and Energy Lab. Biolab, Energy Lab and Chem Lab, and get blueprints for Field Run, Biomass and Detonite Injector, and craft them each time you get into Warframe. They take 12 hours to make, and you will need a lot of those. Let me show you. For example, Field Run takes 12 hours to make. It doesn't require much resources. You get Field Run samples like on any missions against Corpus. Never mind that, the main enemy for you is time. It takes 12 hours and you need 150 of those. So if you're bad at math, you need 300 hours to craft them. That would be 1,800 hours, and that's, my dudes, is 75 full days. So you basically have to do it 2 times a day, because it's 12 hours, and the same applies to Detonite Injector. You need 71 of those. And mutagen mass, you need 110 of those. So these are the 3 ingredients you need to craft every day. And why am I talking about those? Because you need those to craft the weapons in this table, and you need it for about half of these weapons. So I didn't even mark that you need them. You need them because it comes without saying. So, and when it comes to Forma, it's basically the same thing, but it's 4 times as bad. First of all, it takes 23 hours to craft, and you still need 83 of those, so that's 83 full days again. And you can just go and craft it, because first you need to get a blueprint, and to get a blueprint from relics. You get a blueprint from relics. Not every relic, just the relics that have it. So first of all, a bit of advice about relics. Forma blueprint should be a common drop. There are relics that have Forma as uncommon drop, and you don't want it because it's a waste of your time. Like if you are crafting, if you are farming Forma blueprints, always take the ones that have Forma as a common drop. Okay, so that's F. F stands for Forma. What about all the other letters? I'm going from top to down, so the next letters you get here is NW, and NW stands for Night Wave. Night Wave is pretty annoying, but you get weapons pretty regularly. Like each time they refresh their valuable items, you get like 3 of those at a time. So like in 3 weeks you have a chance to get all of the blueprints. There are only 9 weapons, so, and they are all melee, and there are no lack of melee weapons. If you don't want to do Night Wave, that's totally fine, because like there are so many of those. The next letter is B. B stands for boss. For example, you can get Kronos from Captain War. You have about 5% chance from killing him, so you go to Mercury on assassination mission and grind it so you can get the blueprint. And after you get it, you can craft it. The manufacturing requirements are basically non-existent, and you get the weapon. Next weapon is SI. That means Cephalon Simaris, and its machete will cost you 100,000 standing from Cephalon Simaris, and there are a couple of weapons that require that, but not very many, about 5 or so. Okay, so we finished with D tier and we're moving to C tier. The first thing we see here is PR, and PR means primary. You don't actually need this table because you can see the word prime or written in the tier weapons list. So if you see prime, that means you need prime parts, and you can get those from relics again, or you can buy it from other people for platinum. Then we can see a wall. Then we can see the letter C, which is my most favorite letter, because the thing that it stands for really pisses me off. So I named it clusterfuck, and clusterfucks, as I already explained in the previous video, means that you will need a ridiculous amount of resources. For example, Siberia will require 30,000 cryotic and 50,000 alloy plate. You can definitely craft it, but it will be a pain in the ass to get the resources. Thankfully, there are not very many of those, but if you see it, I'd recommend avoiding it for a time being, because your goal is to get the MR, and spending hours and hours grinding for resources to craft a weapon will not get you MR. And the next one is platinum. P means platinum, and this is a very subjective lettering because you don't actually need platinum to get those weapons, but buying these weapons is the easiest way to get them, because usually I used it for these weapons that you which parts you can get from invasion, and each day you can have a chance that there will be a mission that rewards you with one of these weapons parts, and you can't know in advance which part it will be, so it will take a long time to get one of those, and you can just buy them from the market. That's why they are marked as P. The next letter is U. U means unobtainable, like you can't buy this weapon, and the requirements to get it are basically impossible, at least for a beginner level. So there is a weapon called Plinks, and you can get the blueprint from the market, but to craft it you will need gyromag systems, and gyromag system is the component that you get from heist bounties, and you can get heist bounties only after you reach the rank of Old Mate with Solaris United. And to get this rank, which is the top rank with Solaris United, well, you can basically see the requirements. So that's definitely not for the beginners. That's why it's marked as unobtainable. The next letter is M. Okay, there is no letter M. This is just blank. Don't pay attention to that. That must be a typo or something. Okay, then we have the letter N, and the letter N is bad news, because N means Nitine extract, which you can get only by completing bounties during a ghoul purge. And ghoul purge is a recurring event, which means that it even isn't available all the time, and the chances of getting it is 5% for each completed bounty. So yeah. The next letter is GH, which also means goal purge, but unlike nitine, unlike nitine, you basically need just to kill ghouls, and you'll have a pretty decent chance of getting the blueprint. So basically, if you spend like an hour or so, you'll get all of the weapons which are marked as GH. Okay, the next letter is D. D means difficult. Usually it means that the blueprint is dropped from an assassin. For example, you get Break from Grostak 3, you get Ditron from Zanuka Hunter, and so on. DU, of course, means ducats. That means that you can buy this weapon from Barraketeer. Well, yeah, well, there are a couple of those. The next letter is... oh my god, I'm so tired already. The next letter is B, and B means bounty. No, it doesn't. It means boss. And we already talked about it. Pardon me. Okay, the next letter is SA, and SA means sanctuary, which means sanctuary onslaught. Basically, there are only two weapons, Later and Breton Vandal, so you can skip those as okay. So don't pay attention to this. I got confused when I tried to use the site instead of the screenshot I took. The weapons moved and I thought I made a mistake, but I didn't. So yeah, okay. And there we have a Q, which stands for quest. Like you get a broken war from it. And there are some other weapons as well. BO stands for bounties. You might have to check which bounty we are talking about. K. K stands for Kuva. It usually doesn't mean that you'll need Kuva as a crafting ingredients. Sometimes it means you have to kill Kuva enemies to get the blueprint. CL means clan, and that means that you can get this blueprint only from clan, and there are no other requirements at all. T stands for Tellurium, obviously, and I believe that's finally it. G. Okay, G stands for grind, and unlike C, it means you'll have to grind a single mission. For example, to get an Akarios, you will have to get to a certain mission on Earth and kill the certain enemy about 80 times. And Demolisher Infested is... they appear about once a minute, so you'll need about 2 hours to get this blueprint. R stands for rare. It's not as bad as clusterfuck, but you will still need quite a lot of resources. CL stands for Kuva Leech, the weapon that you can only get from Kuva Leech. E stands for Imperial missions, which are basically railjack missions. I stands for Isolation Vault, which is a type of bounty you can find in Deimos. Okay, I guess that's finally it. I know it's a mess, but once again I never intended it and never intended to show it to anyone. So if you watched till now, you're a very devoted person, and I hope you can reach a higher rank than me. I topped at MR14 and I'm quitting Warframe, so I hope I will never reach a higher rank than MR14. Thank you all for watching. Bye.